Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Namine, Ora Karuna Sarvaya, Radha Krishna Pastimes. Chaitanya, Chaitanya, Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prasthayate.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prasthayate.
Haribol Krishna. Haribol Namaste. Thank you very much for taking part in this study program. So, what we're doing here is we're taking the opportunity to receive God's mercy, God's love for us, and to be very direct, let's discuss what separates us. Let's talk in a way to get in the heart of the matter that we would like to discuss so we can see our situation, how crucial it is that we must be with wisdom and understanding so we can be happy, we can be joyful. First of all, we have understood and discussed our transcendental nature. We're different energy from matter. But there's another thing that entangles us here. So let's be very direct and very, very focused and see the problem. The problem is the false ego. What is false ego? It is when we want to imitate the Lord. We want to play God. We're envious of Him. We want to do our own will. And in the process, we experience the result, the reaction of our actions because we are not self-sufficient and we are under the laws of material nature and the law of karma. So the living entity, all of us, me, all of us here, the problem is the false ego. So the spiritual master comes. He comes, Krishna comes, and teaches, points to us the problem. No band-aid solution. Just like if you have a boil, you know what's a boil? Kanang hubag ba sa inyong lubot? Baga kayo, nana. So if you just put band-aid, the pus will be there, the bacteria, the contamination, the dead blood will be there. It still be swelling. But it's very painful to carry it off, open it, and take off the pus and put medicine to destroy and kill the bacteria and the contamination. It's painful. But if we don't take care of the problem, then we will always experience the pain on and on. It's like a thorn that we have stepped on and it's inside our toe and it's just there, our toe is swelling. And we wonder, what's the problem? I tried everything. I gave my heart to someone, I have eaten this, I have made friends with someone, and the result, what are the results? So the place here we're in is a place that is God's gift to us because it's an environment to remember and serve God. So when you come to this place and you have this sickness, you're always in pain, and we advise, take off the pus, have surgery, take off the pus inside that boil, so you won't experience the pain. But you don't want, because you don't have the answer and solution. So it's akin, that analogy is akin to the false ego that the spiritual master wants to cut off, because that separates us from God, that separates us from love. Because false ego means we think we're self-sufficient. We're all in all. The center of our life is us. Nobody else. It's about my enjoyment, about my happiness. So the spiritual master comes, tell us. He comes and teaches. But the spiritual master, he speaks, his words cuts like a knife, like a surgical knife that takes off that pus and boil from your bodies that is being infected. But because you identify with the body, when the spiritual master tells you, you go to a surgery, to a doctor, and the surgeon tells you, okay, sit down, let's put anesthesia, but it will be painful because I have to cut off, open the wound, open a wound there, and get the sucker to suck oil, take off all the pus, the dead blood there that is contaminating your body, that it's inflaming your body, that you're experiencing the pain. But you see, when you're in false ego, the spiritual master tells you, hey, don't do that. You know what's the reaction immediately of the person? If he's not understanding his real situation, he said, why are you taking away this suffering? Who are you? You know? You feel pain. What? You're gonna take off my boil? You're gonna take off the pus? I love it, you know? You're my enemy. So false ego is when it has many faces. It's like, you know, Medusa? You know the story of Medusa? That when you cut one snake, you cut all the snakes on her head, but it pops up again. So many faces of the false ego, and the spiritual master and Krishna has the power to assist us, to cut off that false ego so we can be situated in our true natural ego as eternally the loving servant of God. For example, you just came to Madana Mohana Academy, but in your life previously, you trying to experience, trying to control, you know, with whatever you have. You try to make friends with others. You try, in a way, to be accepted, to have someone to love you, to have shelter. But because the process you're engaging in is based upon materialism, based upon your false ego, then you suffer the consequence. You become broken-hearted. You have a relationship and then that person just leaves you. Or not only that, the relationship is more on like, if I give you this, what do I get? Diba? And in the process, it becomes a melee in a way that you begin to try to suck each other and end up two empty cups trying to fill the other and try to fill himself or herself, and the consequence is there. And you experience the pain of what? Of having someone who doesn't really love you, who just see you as a tool, as an object to use. There's no love there. And then you have friends, but they have their own interests. And then your friends in enjoyment. Like here in Madana, the kids, they're together enjoying. But at the end at the graduation day, everybody is stunned. You know, I have to choke my own life for economic development. You're alone now, if you did not study, you'll be there holding an empty bag. Your brain is like a shell, no input. So my point is this, the problem that we're facing every day, let's get to the heart of the matter, and that matter is our false bodily identification and our desire to play controller. That's the problem. You look at yourself, all of us here, what do? We try to sustain our happiness through sensual enjoyment and try to perpetuate a situation wherein we have a stable situation for our body to be engaging in and attaining something. But it's a world that is full of fear because we know we have to leave the body and everything is temporary and it does not solve the problem. So when you come in contact with a place like a place where the spiritual master is passing on the teachings of Lord Krishna to connect you with loving service by giving you wisdom. But if a person whose consciousness is like an animal, what is an animal? An animal, what does he do? He just eats, he bites, he sleeps, he produces many dogs. Copulates. Eating, sleeping, mating, and depending. That is the environment outside, and the person who has no inkling or idea or understanding about this true transcendental nature, although physically from the outside is very, he dresses or she dresses like a human being. But what's inside? The boil is there. It stinks and it's manifested when that person begins to act. And when that person acts, engages in activities, it's about consuming the world, trying to follow his senses, his mind or her mind, and try to suck in happiness. And the person is trying to suck or enjoy is also like that. It's about, you kiss my ass, I kiss your ass. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. There's always a concession. I give you this, what do you give? So what do we play games in this world? The first, how does illusion or Maya puts us in a cage? How does it encumber us? It is through the three modes of material nature, which enhances our shackle. And we are now shackled, not only shackled, blinded, that we cannot see. So how is it that when a person comes to the association of those who are trying to make progress towards loving God and serving God cannot see and understand? Because the environment, the activities that person is doing is not purifying, but entangles him to be in this quagmire, into this abyss, into this sinkhole that she or he cannot get out. Because you have shackled your mind. The mind is so focused upon this world, and you use the avenue of the mind has now controlled you, and the mind and the desire, you have become entangled and shackled and imprisoned. And the spiritual master comes. You're drowning. The spiritual master comes, tell you, hey, hold my hand. No, why do you hold your hand? I have my own will. I like to experience this pain, I like to drown. Who are you to take me out from this suffering? It's like if you have jewelries, diamonds and everything, you throw to the pigs. Will the pigs appreciate it? No. So we should see how the false ego works. That's why it's very important to be in association with devotees of Lord Krishna and the spiritual master who are guiding them. Because you can be aware of your true identity and nature in an environment that is focused upon doing the will of God. But you come there, you may be dressing as a human being, decent. But what manifests, what comes out, is the shitty smell of materialism. It's about trying to suck in, to manipulate, driven by desire of the mind, and there's consequence. So many of you here have experienced already trying to play Lord. And the result is the karma you experience, the reaction of the activities you did, and the reaction and the fruits of your action. You look, it's miserable. But there's an itch, because the boil is still there. It's getting inflamed. Your blood is becoming polluted, and you cannot stay at ease. Just like, look at this kid. His mind is so powerful. He could have sit down and listen and hear. But the mind goes there. He doesn't know where to move. He jumps there. So look at our situation. Am I able to be sober? To be calm and see, wow, this world is a place of suffering. And the search for happiness, there's nothing there. It's a world of mind game. You know the reason why there's prostitution houses? You know why? You don't need to play mind games. Oh, you have a beautiful face, I like you. So you know how I smell? I keep this smell. Oh, buy perfumes so I can keep what stinks inside, You don't know, but you see. But the person who's so immersed in false bodily identification, in false ego, I want that. He loses his intelligence. But previously, he was already, or she was already, engaging in activities, and the result of those activities made her suffer. But illusion tells her again, wow, another bubble gum, new packaging, and they play games. That is the reason there's prostitution. You don't need to play mind games. How much are you? 10,000? Okay, let's go have sex. No more mind games. Dancing, lullaby, No more like that. It's all mind game that we play. Stop doing that, because time is very important. It's an opportunity for us to be able to understand the truth and become free from this suffering. There are laws here, the law of karma. As you sow, so you shall reap. So you look what you did previously. You engage in activities, and now there is pain. There will always be result of what you did, either good or bad. But because the living entity, we want happiness. We want continual pleasure. We want to give our heart and embrace someone who is eternal. And that person is God, Krishna. Not this hunk of meat. Not this hunk of meat that you embrace, that even the body that you embrace and hold upon that person when you leave. The person said, how come you're still holding me? You're gone. You have to take it off, or else after 6 hours embracing you, it's hard already. You'll be walking, that person, that dead body embracing you. But how can we not see it? Because we have not been purified from this contamination, from these sinful activities we have been doing and engaging in, and our personal desire of envy of God to steal and manipulate and use God's children to suck in and enjoy, thinking it will give me happiness. And then we play games, We play games. How do we play games? You look so beautiful, you know. Oh, you smell good. You're palatable. I can eat you. You know? So the consequence will always be there. So Lord Krishna tells us, as the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to the result, similarly the learned may also act, but without attachment, for the sake of leading people in the right path. So the spiritual master teaches us the science of karma yoga. That this body we have, we can utilize it to purify ourselves, to connect our heart with God, to understand that Krishna loves me, God loves me. And I am now in a situation that is favorable to receive the science and the understanding. Because as a human being, I can make now correct decision if I follow the spiritual master or the saintly person. If I follow God, I do the will of God. To make it very short, do the will of God. And what is that? Love God. But the policy go, no. I've been loving myself for so long. I've been traveling in this miserable world, birth, death, disease, and knowledge. I have so many experience of pain and attachment and being broken-hearted, and I begin to love it. The boil is still there, and it's becoming inflamed and inflamed, and then you're in pain. So when you come to this place, people will be telling you, hey, don't act like an animal, because animals cannot understand Krishna, but they can hear the holy names of Krishna. That's why when Lord Balaram went to the assembly of sages, and this person who is posing as the representative of God, but actually is a demon, he cannot see Krishna, he cannot see Balaram, and he's about to speak about God. And the people there, you know, so Lord Balaram took compassion upon them and freed them from someone who will be deliberating something, topics, or passing on that will be pollution and will not be suffice to benefit them spiritually. So he took it out. He killed him out of the way, you asshole. So we try to beat, you know. I am the Lord, you know. I can do what I want, you know. And what do you do? Anyway, it's not a high price, you know, to play games, you know, to squeeze something, you know. It's not a high price to suck something and eat something, you know. Try to have relationship that in the end will give me pain in my heart. It's not a high price, because while I'm doing it, it is sweet in the beginning, you know, and after a while, it becomes bitter. The source of your happiness. Like, if your happiness is just simply, wow, beautiful face, hunky-dory, macho, di ba? And then, you get it. And then you're insecure now. Because if you have a very beautiful wife who is physically beautiful, everybody ogles, wow, beauty, and you look there, you want my wife? Don't look at my wife. That is the situation. You become insecure. You're working, you call, honey, what are you doing? No? But it's all chewing the tune. We must understand what separates us from God. It is the false ego, the false lordship. And we have been here for so long that we don't know anymore we have become sadomasochists. We enjoy the pain. On and on and on. To die, physically experience birth, death, disease, and knowledge, experience the pain, but the mind will tell you always, Maya or illusion, because our heart has not been purified from this selfish envy of God. So the reason we chant every day, to purify our heart, to be able to experience this love and connection, to experience this humility, to experience that yes, for so long, I turned my face away from my friend, Krishna. But I'm blind. I've been driven by my mind, by the desire, by trying to find happiness through the senses. I'm blind. All of us are blind. But Krishna comes, the spiritual master comes. He gives us his wisdom to be able to open our spiritual eye. You can see now with the eye of wisdom what will give you pain. Just like, for example, the mother who loves a child. Don't touch that fire. You see the moth, it got burned. You touch the fire, you get burned. It's like that. You give your love to somebody, that person dies, or that person exploits you. And the byproduct is with you. You have children. Like what happens to a person looking for someone to love? He looks for someone. This is happening in the Western world. Not only in the Western. It's happening in this country also. We call it, you become a universal mother. You first husband. You have 3 kids. And then the relationship is bitter. She's drunk always, and goes away with another woman. You look again for another person. Maybe this person who is so cute, who's so nice, who's so innocent. And then you get pregnant again. Now you have another husband with 3 kids. And after a while, what is sweet becomes bitter. A struggle for survival. You have to take care of the kids who are like animals. And then you separate again. You have another husband again. So you look. So when you go there, Mr. and Mrs., who's your father? Who's your father? Who's your father? Who's your father? They're all my children. They're different father. You become a universal mother. And your body's getting old every day, And the burden, the stress, at the age of 30, because you have 10 children, you look like 60 already. Your body is so crumbled, You look like a wretch. And you're still wanting to keep that boil, I hold on it, maybe somewhere along the line, knight in a gallant armor, riding on a white horse, coming, I'm gonna save you. Because that's what they do. And you also deal, I'm a damsel in distress, take care of me. Not seeing that this person is looking at you. Is she enjoyable? Will she give me happiness? So that's why relationship in the beginning is very sweet. Because you play games. You try to anticipate. You deal in imagination of what is sweet. Then it turns bitter. Not only bitter, it becomes poison. It becomes toxic. And the person who you like to embrace now, you want to hit him with a hammer. And the person who always listens to your singing, the lullaby that he can sit on your lap, and it becomes a relationship now. Wow, he wants to strangle you, and you want to run away from it, but you cannot. How? Because the experience is embedded in your mind, the database. You want to run? You cannot. Because the experience you have experienced, it will always be there. You can remember it. But it should be a lesson that if I put my love here, I love this person, I try to find happiness through my senses, I will be frustrated. But nobody tells you that. Because our educational system is based upon economic development to consume, that we see this world as a supermarket for enjoyment of our senses. It's a field. So when you come to a place like this, where everybody is trying hard to control their senses, to hold their horses. You come, you cannot hold your horses. But you're dressing like a woman or a man, a human being, decent, but can you hold your horses? Can you hold the rein of your mind? That it runs. Because the problem is what you're focusing, what you're meditating. You're always meditating of what you have experienced in this world. The sound vibration that is material, and the relationship is based upon this material temporary world. But How can you comprehend when you identify with the body? How can you comprehend when you identify your happiness? When you identify you as the body and you try to find happiness through the senses, it's hard to comprehend. What? You're gonna take away my happiness? I'm bleeding to death, man. You're gonna take off this nail? Not only nails, this chisel is stuck in my stomach. But what is the focus? What is the happiness of sense-body identification? To be very frank, the spiritual master, you know my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, he tells us, the sadhu, the holy man, who praises you is your enemy. Alam niyo yung praises? Oh, ka-cute ni mo. Para yung the people who comes here, you know, wow, you have a nice garden. Your kid is so nice. Cute, 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 cute. You know, this place is so nice. You know, ate, I'm selling Tupperware. I have a lot, you know. We must be with wisdom. Or else, the spiritual master tells us, hey, you're drowning. What? I'm drowning? Hold my hand, I'm going to pick you up. No. I like it here, you know. But look closely. How come when you are in an environment wherein there's spiritual program, when people are praising and the focus is serving God, you come there. If you are not taking the process of purification, you'll be like a pig entering the house. So that's the reason, you guys, do you let pigs enter your house and sit down with you while you're eating lunch? You don't do that, di ba? So the spiritual master is someone who cuts that knot. The supreme purifier, he comes as the holy names, giving us the holy names to purify our heart, because we're helpless. We're not all powerful. Material nature have subjugated that already. The three modes of material nature have already stepped upon us, trampled us. We have become enslaved. And we're there helpless. Just like a child in the womb, he cannot move. But the spiritual master comes. So the crux, or in the bottom line, in a nutshell, to transcend the three modes of material nature is to experience love for God. And how to experience love for God? To experience this affection that we're longing for. We're longing for eternal affection and caring. God Himself comes as the holy names. In the beginning, you have no taste for chanting. You have no taste. Through, we have this program, what's that, healing program, that different individuals give their testimony about how suffering they are. They came from first world country, honey and roses, United States of sweet California, you know, sweet honey. And how come they're miserable? But also, those people who came there tells us, you know, the people in America are miserable. But I have applied going back to America on Tuesday. You don't go there, you know, it's miserable there. People are materialistic. And you ask, Mom, why are you going back to America? You're telling us that it's a world of suffering. That's the problem they have to solve. The consciousness that they have to take care, their relationship with Lord Krishna. So you also here, we talk to you directly because Krishna loves you, the spiritual master loves you. And we should appreciate the love that is being given to us to be in a situation where we can use now this body and not be experiencing the pain of the reaction. Because as you sow, you shall reap. So Lord Krishna tells us, let not the wise disrupt the minds of the ignorant who are attached to fruitive action. They should not be encouraged to refrain from work, but to engage in work in the spirit of devotion. So by nature, we are all active. We have this body. We're encumbered by this body, by the mind.
How can we connect it with God? It belongs to God. But in Paul's ego, it becomes the field of activity as a supermarket where we try to suck happiness and fulfillment. But it does not belong to us. Instead of seeing it as a venue or avenue to squeeze happiness, to find shelter, and to dominate, Paul's domination, what will happen is that you now must understand the owner, your friend, your eternal compassion, who owns everything. That's why in the teachings of Lord Jesus Christ, the foremost commandment is a science. It's a science of love. If you have number 1, all the zero, all of us have zeros. You put Krsna, it has value. If we follow this teaching that Jesus Christ is giving us through His life example, completely surrendered under the care of the Father. Why? Because Krsna, God is a supreme controller. He controls, Maya comes from Him, and He loves us eternally. So now we see our predicament. We have this body. It is a process, of an educational process that we are now experiencing. That if we focus, give our time, and try to play God, we will suffer. And then at the end, if we're not intelligent, what do? We try to experience. Try to squeeze what we can squeeze with this body until it dries up, until we leave the body. We live a life of pain, and not only that, of misery. And misery loves company. Misery loves company. There's field of activities. This body is a field of activity. And then, you're so empty. You look at another empty cup. You're so miserable. You want to become fulfilled. That person also is looking for happiness. And you try to join together. Let's suck one another. Through the senses. I offer you my heart. But it's deflected now through the body, through the senses. Because we try to squeeze flickering happiness. So what's the happiness of engaging in coupling? That somebody puts his organ inside your ovary. Is there happiness there? It's simply an expression of anger and frustration. But there is consequence. You get pregnant. Not only that, the more you scratch, the more it becomes itchy. The more you scratch, the more you scratch. And then, in the end, you die scratching. Like a dog with so many fleas, scratching and scratching, sucking his blood until he dies of stress. And then in the end, what do? People, what do? They identify themselves as the body and tell, if I don't exist, there's no suffering. I am the body. Goodbye, cruel world. But that is not true, because you eternally exist. So instead of using this body as an avenue, as a tool to squeeze happiness and protection and shelter, we must be understanding the science of karma yoga. Karma means action in the service of God. It belongs to God. It's His. I'm temporary in this body. My attitude should be a caretaker. I can use this body to connect my heart, my love, and enter that world. Because He's there waiting. The problem, He's just waiting for us. If we make one step towards God, Krsna makes 100 steps toward us. But if we are so much in illusion, in passion, under the three modes of material nature, we cannot see that. We are desire-driven, you cannot see that. That's why desires must be redirected. The mind must be redirected. But with your own power, it's very hard. What are the goals we do when we go to the place of worship? What do? We just want to become purified. Purity, purity, purity. As if to be experiencing this experience of vagueness, clear. But because the living entity, all of us, by nature, we will be active. We want to love. We want to experience relationship. Now it must be directed upon our eternal friend who has unconditional love for us, Lord Krishna. So, you can make decision not to take this process. What more of God? He's also a person. And He tells you, love me, serve me. He makes a decision. Okay, serve me and love me, follow my instruction, I'll take care of you. And experience this world of loving relationship, the pleasure of God upon you. How is that? Krishna Himself. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. The more you chant, the tongue follows, the mind follows, the heart becomes purified. Krishna becomes your life. And now you're not disturbed by this turbulent, temporary, passing world influenced by Maya, because now you're so focused, because your heart is now connected in loving service with the Supreme Person. That's why when I saw this poster of our instructing spiritual master about 50 years ago, he's there in that poster, and you know the caption, he sees God. Then, when I chanted the holy names, I listened to my spiritual master. I read the instruction of the instructing spiritual master, the saintly person. It's all about love. It's all about relationship that is eternal. And when I remember that, he sees God with love. As when you're in bodily identification, it's not love. It is lust. That is the false ego's influence that entangles us. The spiritual master cuts that false ego with God Himself. He gives you Krishna to purify us from this false ego. And the false ego in the beginning, we cannot see. Because in the beginning, when we had no wisdom about our relationship with God, our whole world is just pleasing ourselves, following the senses. But when we are in understanding of our true nature, our eternal activities, we begin to see now, with the process that has purified our heart and our mind, we can see now the false ego. Anything that will separate us from doing what is pleasing to God, we don't do that. Now there is someone who we want to please that eclipse this low, dead happiness we're trying to squeeze. But the taste of the pudding is in the eating. You yourself must experience that. By nature, you will exist eternally. You will engage in activities. You will be loving someone. Love the Supreme Person. Love our eternal friend. Because if you love Him, you'll be loving everyone. That's why the first teaching of Lord Jesus Christ, love the Father with thy whole heart, with thy whole mind, thy whole being. That is the teaching of the 10 Commandments. Because it's like watering the root of the tree. If you water the root of the tree, all the leaves and branches will be nourished. And then what will happen? What is very precious to you, to all of us? Our life, our love. So be very careful whom to give your love, to whom to give your life. Don't give your life to the pigs, because they will just trample it. Don't enter a world. Don't let the pigs enter your mind, your body, that this body is a temple of God. So instead of trying to live like a pig, eating, sleeping, mating, use this body now as a garland, as a wreath to offer to God, back to Him. But nobody tells you that, because the teaching that is embedded in our heart is about selfishness. What is that? I was brought up in a so-called Christian world. God made this world for our enjoyment. That is the teaching of the liberal theologian. But the conservative theologian are teaching another. They're teaching us, if you try to become a materialist, a hedonist, that's sin, bad yan, bad yan. But the premise is that God made this world for our enjoyment. So where do we stand? What do we cling? We don't even have a strand of hair to hold on to protect us, because the wisdom is perverted and nonsense. What we should be learning and understanding is the eternal wisdom of our loving relationship with God. As what our dear brother, Lord Jesus Christ, is telling us. He prays, Our Father who art in heaven, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, glorify thy name. But because we lack wisdom and understanding, we think, oh, God's name is Krishna? We don't even know the meaning of God. God means someone who is the cause of all causes. And the atheist will tell us, there is no God. But what he's saying is God. That is the false ego. We're thinking, I know everything, So when we come in contact with someone who cares for us, we just use our critical eye, our wanting and lust. But because Krishna is the supreme purifier, if we come in contact with him, everything will be solved. Provided we take the process. Provided we go to the surgeon and tell the surgeon, please, hey, I want to have surgery and take off this boil. You understand? Is it clear to you? So don't waste your time. Don't waste God's gift to us, this opportunity. There's so many people around the world, 6 billion. There's so many living entities roaming around. And this human form that you have and the opportunity to come in contact with Lord Krishna and his confidential loving friend, inviting us to go back to that world of devotional service, the world where Jesus Christ went back. It's an invitation. It is an invitation to all of us. But we have to make a step. Nobody will walk for you. So look, try to recall. You did your own will. You engage in so many activities. Look at the fruits of your action. Is it really palatable? Really sweet? No stress? No pain? Analyze. And now we're offering you this process coming from the saintly person, God's love, so you'll be happy. So is there any question? Is it clear? Do you have any question how you can make progress towards understanding this science? So Krishna himself and scriptures, the spiritual master tells us, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kolowa Nasteva Gatiran Nyata. In this age of quarrel and confusion, when we are all helpless, there is no alternative, there is no alternative, there is no alternative. So we must jump in the bandwagon that goes to Krishna, the chanting of the holy names. But that will be a decision we have to make. Haribol Namaste.
Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Surmaya, Radha Krishna Prasayate. Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Radha Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Shri Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Shri Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine, Ora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prestaya Devi.